that this destruction.
Global news impacts us.
We have to change the way we live. This is why we need independent media.
Hey everyone, this is Kit Cabello with Hard Lens Media, and this is Democracy Manifest. That's right, folks. We are here live, Friday show. Really energized. We got our first guest who will be running for the 17th Congressional District here in the state of Illinois. Obviously, it's a midterm election cycle, and we are going to be interviewing candidates who are going to be running for office, and this will be our first guest. Also, by the way, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that ring bell notification as well, because YouTube is unsubscribing people, and let's face it, the censorship is very, very, very real. And also, I want to acknowledge someone who's Lucky Burrito Art and Music. I did see your chat. I will respond to you after the show, but yes, I would like to be on your live stream for your show. So I made a promise, and as always, I got to keep it. A promise is a promise after all. So I did see it. So apologies, because we are doing everything here at the show here, doing all that good stuff. Be sure to also subscribe to us on Odyssey and Rockfin, folks, because unfortunately, the way YouTube is doing things, who knows how long we're all going to be here. So let's help build up these two other video platforms, Odyssey and Rockfin. And also, I want to pull up this awesome Patreon list as well. If you want to help us out, please consider being a Patreon supporter. That link is in the description box below. And let me get this first name correct. Lumpia Logic. Lumpia Logic. Lupia Logic. Phase demanded that I say it correctly. So we went over it phonetically for 5 hours. All right, Lupia Logic, thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. Shout out to Raymond Peterson, Jenna Coomer, Beatrice Restrate, Emily, Spencer T. Harvey, Brian Ryder, Leanne, Carlos Estevez, and Shatown Cynic. Thank you so much for being our Patreon supporters. We are so grateful. Plus, we got an awesome Chicago corner for all of you this Friday, tonight, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. A lot of stories to talk about, and how our mayor, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, said on a conference call that she has the biggest dick in the city of Chicago. And no, I'm not making it up. No, Mayor Lightfoot said this. Can we get the camera closer on me? Yeah, hold on, because I think the audience... Yeah, we're going to be talking about that on Chicago Corner. Mayor Lori Lightfoot said that she has the biggest dick in the city of Chicago. I'm not screwing around. This, my friends, is very true. So if you want to learn more about that story, tune in tonight at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for our other YouTube channel, Chicago Corner. Now, with that being said, let's get started with our first segment of the day. This is more of a follow-up to what we talked about on yesterday's show. And, you know, it's really sad to see this happen to a lot of great pundits and journalists and commentators who've done a lot of great work at RT America. But as it stands right now, RT America ceases productions and lays off most of its staff. So it's official. It's done. And there's a lot of good people who've done a lot of great work at RT America. One of our good friends of the show, Lee Camp, you know, he had a great show called Redacted Tonight, did some phenomenal work, and there were so many others, as well as a production team and editors that worked at RT America. We stand in solidarity with all of you, and we're very sorry this happened to all of you. So, what's going on? RT America will cease its productions and lay off most of its staff, according to a memo. CNN, of all places, fuck you, from TNR Productions, the production company behind Russia's state-funded network. Misha Soldanov, the general manager of TNR Productions, told staff in the memo that it will be ceasing production at all of its locations as a result of unforeseen business interruption events. Unfortunately, we anticipate this layoff will be permanent, meaning that this will result in the permanent separation from employment of most TNR employees at all locations. TNR Productions operated offices in New York, Miami, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C. The news would mean an effective end to RT America, the network, one of Russian President Vladimir Putin's main mouthpieces in the United States, was dropped earlier this week by DirecTV, dealing a major financial blow to it. The satellite carrier was one of the two major television providers in the U.S. to carry the network. Roku, a company that sells hardware which allows users to stream content through the internet, also said it had banished RT from its platform. We are sad and disappointed that our groundbreaking channel, RT America, had to go off the air after more than 10 years, and that the company that supplied much of its content, TNR Productions, had to cease most of its operations due to challenging external circumstances. RT's deputy director, Anna Belenka, said in a statement to CNN, however, we are working hard to find ways that its staff, which has for many years produced award-winning news and programming content, can remain within RT's international family. RT, which operates multiple networks across the world, has seen its reach significantly diminished in the recent days as technology companies and television providers have moved to sever ties with it as a result of Russia's unprovoked war with the Ukraine. Several employees from RT's various networks have also publicly resigned from the outlet. RT America's employees who worked from the Washington, D.C. Bureau were told on Wednesday that all staff meeting would occur on Thursday afternoon, according to an email obtained by CNN. When hosts, correspondents, producers, and others gathered in RT America's lounge, they were delivered the news in person. A person who attended the meeting told CNN. The meeting was about 2 minutes, the attendee said, explained that Sulganoff told the assembled staff at RT America would be stopping production and the staff would be provided 2 months' pay. The attendee who requested anonymity to discuss the internal deliberations told CNN that the mood was somber. A lot of people were shocked, the person said. A lot of people were crying. So let's stop right here. Obviously, this is a piece from RT America. Not from RT America. This is a piece from CNN. So we all know right now here in our country that corporate media in its own right has its own biases, has its own agenda. But I am deeply concerned about the future of free speech and other independent media networks here in this country. Because the thing is, with RT now gone, and how big tech and a lot of other television providers were quickly to silence a lot of the correspondents and journalists that worked at RT America, how quickly they were kicked off, this opens the door for potential risk for other independent content creators on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or any other social media platform. The quick rush of censorship and silence and suppression is never the answer. Case in point, let's look at what's still going on with The Hill. They're still struggling with the fact that YouTube suspended their channel, which is downright depressing and really, really sad. So to The Hill, welcome to the world of censorship, something that independent media knows all too well. I want to pull up this tweet from Kim Iverson. I think it's important that we read this as well, because we can never forget what happened to RT America. Yes, RT is Russia today. What's the difference between them and the BBC or DW or any other foreign news organizer? Nothing. Only your bigoted bias. It's a sad day when any news organization is shut down, be they straight news or straight commentary. A free nation needs free press for all. I agree with that statement 100%. In a democracy, you need to have different perspectives, different points of view. You need to have a free press. This is fundamentally important to how we run things in this country. We cannot afford to be in this point in time where we want to remove those that think different than us. In this day and age, we have to respect free speech. We need to cherish it because it could wither away just like that. I want to pull up another tweet as well. This was a post from good friend of the show, Nico House. Again, the censorship is all too real. Breaking. Telegram has removed RT. And as you can see, he tweeted this out. RT News, once again removed off of Telegram. But it doesn't stop there. You see, when big tech starts dictating who can be on a platform and who cannot, that means, let's say you're critical of RT. Let's say you don't like them at all. And there are probably a lot of people that are cheering up and down that RT America's gone. Okay. But this is a Pandora's box that we've opened up. That means channels you like, content you like, can also be put on the chopping block. Not today or tomorrow, but someday. This is dangerous. And for many people, they're only finding it out now just how crazy the YouTube algorithm is and how big tech can be when there isn't really oversight over, well, who can dictate what is news and what is not? Again, I have to bring up The Hill. This is a media platform that is far larger than Hard Lens Media or any other independent media network. But their channel, The Rising, was hit for BS reasons because YouTube and its algorithm said that they were giving out false information. Now, of course, what's happening to RT is different than The Rising, but it's still in the same category. We're witnessing people panicking and trying to silence a different perspective, a different voice. Now, we all know this nightmare that's happening in Ukraine. Every minute it goes on, it could lead to further destabilization and us closer to witnessing nukes being used. Now, I don't want to see that, and here's hoping that eventually peace does come and that cooler heads will prevail. But the answer is not censorship or removing media networks or silencing them. That's not what we need, and we cannot have that. I want to pull up this tweet as well. This is from Ben Swan. I've worked as a contributor to RT America for several years. I've also worked for CBS, Fox, and NBC affiliates. Always had the most journalistic freedom at RT. And let's face it, those who have called for the censoring of journalists at RT will not stop there. Who's next? And that's a great question. Who's next? Hard Lens Media has faced censorship before. 5 times we were hit with strikes from YouTube. Each time was for BS reasons. Our colleagues at the Convo Couch, the Mikasu Kasu Network, and numerous other independent media networks and channels have been hit hard with the suppression. And right now, with what happened to RT, it does open the floodgates for people to say, well, that channel should be removed. That podcast should be removed. These groups should be silenced. They shouldn't have a platform. We don't want them here. Let's trust the authoritative sources. And mind you, again, look, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, CBS, ABC have a long, sad, and pathetic track record of getting the facts wrong. Remember WMDs in Iraq? All of corporate media was on board for it. No accountability for them at all. But that's only scratching the surface. Again, like I said, Fox, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, and the whole rest have done fake news, have failed to deliver the facts. We need independent media. I want to pull up this tweet here from good friend of the show, Lee Camp. In the span of 1 week, my TV show of 8 years was canceled. My podcast of 12 years was banned by Spotify, and my YouTube videos have been banned across Europe and the UK. Here are my initial thoughts on what this means and why RT America was shut down. Obviously, you want to help him out, please consider being his Patreon supporter. It's a real danger for free speech in this country. And look, I don't agree where this is going. I'm basically speechless right now. I want to pull up this final video here, and I want to share it with all of you in its full entirety. Let's check it out.
Our sister channel, RT America, has ended its production after more than a decade on air. This comes after the largest US satellite dropped RT America early this week. However, not everyone agrees with the move, as a German-Finnish tech entrepreneur has now voiced his support for the channel.
Unfortunately, RT is now subject to censorship in many Western countries because it tells the Russian side of the Ukrainian crisis story. I think it is important to access opposing arguments to form an educated opinion, and I recommend you make RT part of your daily reading.
RT has recently faced a string of bans amid the ongoing crisis in Ukraine. Google has removed mobile apps connected to Russian media outlets RT and Sputnik from its Play Store, and Apple has also removed the channel's apps. The European Union has banned the English language channel from the bloc, and it has also disappeared from UK broadcast platforms. That move earned praise from the British Culture Secretary, although he was criticised by some people online.
You appear to be praising the EU for shutting down free speech, and yet you call yourself a conservative.
As a conservative culture secretary, you should be standing up for the Western value of free speech, especially at a time like this.
It is at the viewer's discretion to decide who is lying and who is not. I prefer to hear two sides of the story. Censorship is never a good thing.
Amid the string of media bans Russia is currently facing as the crisis in Ukraine unfolds, Moscow has decided to also ban access to some Western media outlets like BBC, Deutsche Welle and Radio Liberty. The Russian media watchdog claims that these platforms spread false information about the conflict in Ukraine.
Okay. And recently it's come to my attention that Russia has also banned or limited access towards Twitter and Facebook as well. Look, I wish this conflict never came to be. I wish that cooler heads prevailed. I wish that our politicians all across this world were able to use the art of diplomacy and dialogue. But sadly, that bridge has been burnt, and who knows where this conflict will lead. But censorship is never the answer. Silencing dissenting voices is never the answer. You need to get two sides of perspective, two sides of the story. I identify myself as an independent and as progressive. But I want to hear the different sides of every story, be they from conservatives, libertarians, socialists, Greens, Democrats, liberals, Republicans, because I want to know what is happening, what is going on, as I like to say on the show. But where we're going right now, as a society, putting people in different echo chambers, you're only going to make the problem worse. Now, yes, there are individuals that abuse free speech. There are good people in this world, and yes, it is up to the viewer to decide who is telling the truth and who is not. And sadly, our authoritative sources in corporate media, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, Fox News, have failed many times. This is why we need independent media. And this is why we need to get money out of politics. This is why we got to break the monopolies that are controlling the media. And more importantly, we have to support free speech. I don't know what's going to happen in the next few weeks, but these are definitely some challenging times. So double check that you're still subscribed to our channel, to any other content creator out there. And I guess now more than ever, thank goodness there's Rockfin and Odyssey. That being said, we're going to move on now to our next segment. Before we do, we actually have a Streamlabs Super Chat, $3, from Samwise, who says, Lightfoot wants you to sub to her OnlyFans. But if you want to protest in her gated community, you will get only bans. That's funny. Let's pull up that. We got something on Rockfin as well. Let's check that out. Roger Meadows tipped $2. You just said that Lightfoot said is very true. So she does have the biggest dick in Chicago. What? She had time to go around the city asking men to pull down their pants and play the show me game with them? Did she hit up the bars first? Gandhi said first they ignore you, then they mock you, then they fight you, then you win. People, we are one step away from winning. No gloom and doom. We're hitting where it hurts. This is Democracy Manifest. All right, folks. All right. We're going to move on now to our next story. So, Fox News. Yeah, that's right. Hang on. Don't worry. For all the people who said, oh, how come you're always critical of MSNBC? How come you're always critical of CNN? How come you're always poking fun at the Democrats? How come you're making fun of all the progressives? How come you're doing this? Well, hey, here's something for you folks. Yes, it's low-hanging fruit, but we got to talk about it because once again, Fox News, it's like, what has not been said about Fox News that hasn't been said already? But in this wonderful opinion piece, and look, let's face it, I believe in free speech. FaZe, you heard me. I believe in free speech. These pundits at Fox News have every right to think this. They're dreaming of oil. They're dreaming of drill, baby, drill. They got no new ideas. So let me just say this again. Fox News, it's entertainment at this point. But it just goes to show you that these politicians and also these pundits and corporate media, they got nothing new to give you. But yet, sadly, YouTube considers Fox and CNN, MSNBC authoritative sources. So let's listen to these authoritative sources and how they dream of oil. Let's play that video.
We know we have an inflation problem. This morning we were hit with an inflation surge. Look at this. Gas went up 8 cents a night overnight. Just in one day, went up 8 cents. The new national average is $3.73. At this rate, we will hit $4 a gallon for regular gasoline as a national average this month.
I want to
Diesel
pause right here.
Went to an average nationwide.
Now look, here's the thing. I'm going to be fair here. Fox News is right. We are heading towards an inflation. We've been talking about this even before this crazy segment, because hang on, it's going to get a little crazier. But let's be clear here. There is a growing inflation in this country, and $4 a gallon. FaZe, what do you think of that? It is crazy. It's madness. We can't have that. But yet it's happening right now. But mind you, all focus is on this war in Ukraine. We don't have time for war. We don't have the resources for war because there is an inflation happening. Let's play this next video.
At $4.12 a gallon. It's $5.19 in California. Can you imagine what that does to the truckers? A fill-up costs maybe, what, $100 more now than it did a couple of weeks ago. $100 more. Oil hit its highest level since 2008, $115 a barrel for Texas oil earlier this morning. It gets backed off to $110, but it's still up there. What should Biden do? How many times do we have to say it? Drill, baby, drill. Increase our own production of oil and natural gas.
Pause it. Okay, drill, baby, drill. Here's the thing. When we build these pipelines or drill, baby, drill, the American people never see the profits of that oil. They don't receive the oil. All that oil gets exported outside the country. You're never going to see it. I don't care if you're a Republican voter or a Democratic voter. I don't care if you're an independent voter. No matter what part of the country, you will not see the profits of that. So we could keep on drill, baby, drill and building all these pipelines as much as we want. But that's not going to lower gas prices. That's just not going to happen. Play the rest.
Come on, raise the supply to moderate the price. Give Americans a break. Inflation is Biden's biggest political problem, so why not tackle it? The Greens won't let him, that's why. Think about that. The climate crowd is happy to make you pay through the nose for their green dreams. The world is screaming for energy, but our policy is held hostage to the whims of the environmentalists. One more thing that we should be doing, spending a lot more on our military. But that's another thing the left will not allow. It's time to pivot the Democrats away from the far left, but America will have to wait till November to do that.
Okay. Now this is where he's a jackass. America spends more money on its military than the whole world combined. Okay? We spend a lot of money on our military. What world is he living in? We have money for tanks, airplanes, aircraft carriers. We're spending money on that. We're good in that department. And this whole idea of, the Democratic Party is controlled by the environmentalists and the leftists. Really? What Democratic Party are you talking about? Because pretty much this is the neoliberal Democratic Party that takes corporate donations from big oil, from the military-industrial complex, Barney. So where's your proof and evidence that somehow the leftists are in control? The environmentalists, the Greens are in control. The Democratic leadership made sure, very sure, that any kind of progressive policy would be dead in the water. Look at 2021. What did the progressives get done? What world are you living in? Biden is a socialist, communist, progressive mastermind? No, he is not. The Democratic Party was never going to adopt any progressive policy at all. This is what I mean. Fox News. Again, they have the right to have an opinion, but this is a false piece of information that he is feeding to his viewers. The United States spends a lot of money on the military-industrial complex. We got another video from Case Study QB. Hang on. You're gonna hear a wet dream from these two guys talking about why we need more oil. Let's play it.
Mr. Senator, I think you agree with me. We need to drill, produce more fossil fuels, and we need to increase military spending, but we can't do either. What do you say?
I tell you what, Stu, it's kind of depressing to listen to the lead there in terms of all the things you mentioned. And all I can tell viewers, look to see what it was back in the Trump administration. Lowest inflation we had.
Pause it.
Everything was working.
Everything that Trump has implemented is still being carried out by the Biden-Harris administration. Okay? And then, two, look, the corporations are going to be building pipelines. Look at what's happening with the Colonial Pipeline. There's still a massive spill going on, but they're building pipelines. They're still drilling for oil. They're doing all this stuff. What this is propaganda and fear-mongering, and they're giving misinformation to their viewers. This whole idea that the United States isn't spending money on its military is a piece of propaganda that really has no leg to stand on unless you are really that gullible. We are number one in building weapons. We are number one in spending money on our military. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Let's play it.
Working well, rising wages in the toughest spots. Here it's about an administration said they were going to talk about trying to appeal to a maybe broader section, unify. They've done nothing of the sort. If we had the Keystone XL pipeline actually working, it would more than offset all the barrels we're importing from Russia.
Pause.
They've done
Pause.
one thing after.
Sorry, I'm very sorry, folks. That's false. Nothing that is produced from these pipelines is going to be redistributed to the American consumer. All those pipelines and the products that they make will be exported. Not imported, exported. It means outside the country. It's not going to lower prices. That's just not how it works. Not here in the United States. That is a piece of propaganda right there. Play the rest.
Or another to make a bad decision, and I hope it's not with the purpose of trying to just default us into their crazy ideas of the Green New Deal and stuff that we can't afford. But to really understand them, they are enterprisers. They seize the moment. They don't care. They've never even run a lemonade stand. And the federal government is their cathedral and their growth business, if you want to know what it's about in a nutshell.
Aren't there enough?
Okay, no. The GOP does the same freaking thing. Now, look, I have my criticisms towards the progressives in the Democratic Party. Obviously, they should have left it, and they need to raise a ruckus. And right now, I don't know what's going on in their mindset, but the more they associate themselves with the Democratic Party, the more they're inviting failure. The Democratic Party will never adopt any of their policies. And then when you hear, again, the GOP establishment saying that somehow the Democrats are moving left, they are not moving to the left. The progressive movement in the Democratic Party has been silenced. What the Justice Democrats, brand new Congress, our revolution tried to do has failed miserably. You can't let the bear eat you and somehow you're going to change the bear from inside. That's not how it works. The Democratic Party is too damn corrupt, just like the GOP. So this whole idea of, oh, Congress is their cathedral, the Republican Party has done the same thing. Team red, team blue. You do realize you're never going to have a seat at the table. Anyways, play the rest.
Enough senators on both sides of the aisle to come together with a fundamental agreement that we've got to produce more of our own fossil fuels. Surely. I mean, I saw Joe Manchin sitting with the Republicans the other night.
Oh, what a surprise.
People to get a consensus going, to get something done?
You know, if it is, it would be completely politically driven, because you know where Biden's approval is. It's under 40%. They are going to have a challenge in these midterms. We're going to put a tourniquet on it politically to where they can't do any more damage. We can't really do anything, Stu, though, until January of 25. And then will we as Republicans have the fortitude to undo a lot of this craziness? So, yes, he's got a platter of issues that for us as Republicans, you couldn't wish for more to campaign against. But we can't stop it until we take one of the two chambers back. I think we got a good chance of getting the Senate back now as well.
Okay, good stuff. Mr. Senator, always a pleasure. Thanks for being with us, sir. We'll see you again soon.
Oh no, somehow the radical leftists took over everything. What world are you living in? What world are you living in? Again, Fox News, again, look, I want to be consistent. I believe in free speech. I believe in democracy. I believe in a free press. and Varney and his fantastic friends are entitled to their opinion. They're entitled to it. But they're wrong, and they're giving their viewers false facts. So, when they start saying that the Democratic Party is just doing all these crazy things, well, good luck, because it's hard to reform the Democratic Party. It's hard to do a lot of things in this country where you have massive amount of unchecked corruption. But the whole idea of drilling for more oil or building more pipelines, good luck to you. Because it's a method that we've tried over and over again, but sadly, none of these politicians have new ideas. We're going to end this segment. Before we do, again, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Check out Chicago Corner tonight, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's going to be an awesome show. I'm looking forward to co-hosting it with my good colleague, Jerry Vassilatos. We got an awesome Chicago Corner tonight, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you want to find out what's happening in that city right behind me, you got to tune in. If you're not subscribed, why aren't you? Make it happen. With that being said, we're going to move on now to bring in on our guest of the show. So, let's get it started. We here at Hardlens Media believe that we need to cover these elections. Each one is going to be important, and I know for a lot of our audience, myself included, sometimes we are burnt out by electoral politics. But Hardlens Media got started by covering candidates, interviewing protesters and activists, because we need to get involved in our democracy, be it forming organizations or community groups to help each other out through mutual aid, but also, yes, we need to bring in some kind of change. I'm more on board of, at this point, having independents run for office and not being party affiliated, but until we are in that day and age, we need more people to step up. However, I am proud to introduce one of our first guests, who is actually running for the midterm election cycle in 2022 for the 17th district in the state of Illinois, congressional district in the state of Illinois, Jacqueline McGowan. She was actually on our show some time ago as we interviewed her for her previous run in the state of California. Jackie, thank you so much for joining us here at Hardlens Media.
Thanks for having me, Kit.
Well, so when we last spoke, you kind of hinted at the idea of running for Congress in the state of Illinois. So explain to our viewers and subscribers why here in the state of Illinois and what is significant about the 17th congressional district in the state of Illinois.
Sure. So I was born and raised in California, and I can't hide that. I ran for governor of California just last summer. But my roots are in Illinois, and I have 70 first cousins here, 200 second cousins, and 50 aunts and uncles. And when they saw that I really enjoyed campaigning and being out, like talking to, constituents and learning what the issues were, they suggested, if you really like this, Jackie, then why don't you come home? And this is my home. I started working on Wall Street in Chicago when I was 18. The only reason I left was because I was transferred to New York for a better opportunity. And I would have stayed here. The 17th district was the only district that I could come up with that was unencumbered because Sherry Bustos is retiring. And it's an easier race to win than trying to challenge, someone that's been in that seat for a long time.
For our viewers who may not remember, but Sherry Bustos was the head of the DCCC, and when we covered that election in 2020, the DCCC, under her leadership, was making it very clear that they were going to support only the incumbents who were running for the United States House. Of course, a lot of progressive challengers were running into problems because, again, Sherry Bustos was running a very strict campaign to silence any kind of challenger. So now with this race, there is about at least maybe 6 other people that are running for that seat. For you and your campaign, especially for the state of Illinois, because I think a lot of our viewers don't understand how many signatures people need to get in order to secure themselves to be on the ballot. When is this final date in which you can actually hand in your paperwork and, more importantly, actually hit the campaign trail so that people can actually turn out to vote for you?
March 14th is when 850 signatures-ish are due. And that's where we're going to see the playing field probably go down from 7 to 8 candidates down to 4 to 5 candidates.
Mm-hmm. Now, the thing is, what I found interesting about your previous campaign in California, when we last had you on our show, and our good colleague, Craig Jardula from the Convo Couch actually introduced us to you. Your campaign was pretty diverse of Republican supporters and independent voters. Are you trying the same tactic here as well for this Democratic primary, reaching out to all sides, all voters? What's different about this campaign compared to your previous campaign?
I really can't help it. You know, I am a voice of all people, and I'm in the district right now, and I'm running around and I'm, you know, shaking hands and kissing babies, and I'm meeting people of all affiliations. And, you know, people just really like me. I listen to what their issues are. I debate different strategies and solutions with them. And, you know, I think that they just want to be heard. And so right now I have to focus on winning a primary, and only Democrats can vote for me. So I have to be able to speak the language of the Democrat right now. And then I can go back to like winning the hearts and minds of everyone.
Now, most of our audience here, I'm going to say most of them are burnt out by electoral politics and are extremely critical of the Democratic Party. Sometimes even I get messages, well, hey, how come you still kind of believe in the idea of getting involved in electoral politics? And let's face it, at some points, I have to agree, like, yes, this is a very difficult thing to do. However, when we look at the Democratic Party continues to lose support and favorability. And we're seeing this a lot, especially for this midterm. It is a very challenging time for the Democratic Party. And it is increasingly seen that is not different from the Republican Party when it comes down to the ineffectiveness and corruption. Over 60% of Americans favor a third party as a way to break the deadlock. With the decline and distrust of both major parties by most Americans, why did you decide to run in the Democratic Party?
I hold a lot of Democratic values, and, you know, I watched that State of the Union address the other night, and I was pretty proud of my president. I'm not sure that President Trump would have done anything different or anything better. And so, you know, I really do want to see unity. And that was the message, the main message that they delivered that night. I want to see all of us come back together. You know, there were standing ovations that you know, occurred that night. And that was both parties standing up in agreement. And I saw more things that we agreed on that night than we disagreed on. And I want to see more of that. And I'm running so that I can hopefully restore integrity and faith. You know, I'm not a career politician. You know, I am a voice of the people.
Well, if I can just do an additional follow-up with this, there is growing distrust of the Democratic Party when it comes down to especially the fact that Americans are still being evicted from their homes. You have people struggling with student debt, medical debt. Throughout all of 2021, the Democrats had ample opportunity to implement policies to help out working class citizens, especially with the aftermath of the pandemic and the 4 years under Trump. And things are getting still progressively worse. And yes, while there was standing ovations, for the most part, it was the establishment and their corporate donors that were applauding. How are you going to implement change when that swamp bubble in Washington, D.C. is inherently corrupt?
I would answer that with a question for you. Did they actually have an opportunity to get legislation passed, or was it the Republicans that were blocking it?
Well, there was also the Blue Dog Democrats as well, and the ineffectiveness of the Biden-Harris administration to really implement and even fight for their policies. I mean, the Build Back Better started at $7 trillion and was negotiated all the way down to $1.75 trillion. Manchin and Sinema ran away with everything. And of course, when it came down to challenge the leadership, especially for forced to vote for Medicare for All, the 15 congressmen and women who were on the forced to vote petition who ran on Medicare for All were silent. They didn't even show up for the March for Medicare for All or even acknowledge the General Strike 3-day summit that was hosted by Revolutionary Blackout Network. I think these are very legitimate concerns to bring up, and it's not to antagonize. It's more of to really ask any Democratic lawmaker or candidate that's running the Democratic Party, why should voters turn out when constantly they're getting burnt, lied to, and at this point ignored? The wage gap between the wealthy and the poor is growing dramatically.
Couldn't agree more.
These are facts that are happening. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, there is a possibility you can win your primary and possibility of winning your seat. How are you going to bring in change to this system that is really corrupt?
I've already proven that I've stood up to the Democratic elite in California, and my race for Congress, and when I win this seat, it's not going to be any different. I'm going to stand up for what's right. And right now, if you look at, who's donating to me, I probably have the most amount of small donors from across this country that are contributing to my campaign. And I'm not taking corporate money. I've raised probably half of what my top leading competitors in this race have raised, but I'm going to outpace them. And I'm going to do that with small donations. And that means that I am the real voice of the people.
Now, there's a couple things I do want to acknowledge. Number one, when we had you on our show for your campaign for, especially in California, you did have a lot of small donor donations that were helping you out for your campaign. I think for this race, though, for our viewers, especially for this primary, again, paperwork is still being filed out. Who will be the final contenders for it? Who are the big money influencers that are actually getting involved? And what happens if perhaps one of them reaches out to you to donate to your campaign?
I can't say that there are big money influencers involved in this yet because they're waiting until the primary is decided. I would say that the Republicans are the ones that have collected the most amount of money, and that's only because the leading Republican in this race ran 2 years ago and did not succeed Sherry Bustos. So she is the leading Republican with probably the most money on hand and out of anyone in this race. That's where the corporate donors are donating.
All right. Now, sorry. No, go. I didn't mean to cut you off. Please continue what you were going to say.
You need to focus. If you're looking for where the corporate money is coming into this race, you need to look at the Republicans because the Democrats have not collected it.
Fair enough, if that's what's when it comes down to the Republican Party, but it does bring up a few questions about the Democratic candidate, whoever will be the nominee after the primary. There is always the guarantee that corporate donors, hedge fund managers, Wall Street executives will come knocking on said candidate's doors, your potential door, and saying, will you do what we say? To quote Donald Trump, especially during the 2016 primary, I give these people money and they do what I say. And it wasn't too long ago where Trump himself was a Democrat. I think what a lot of our audience wants to know is, are you going to stand up against big money in politics? And are you going to stand up to Democratic Party leadership? Because that's what people want to see. They want to see people raise the ruckus and actually bring the initiative for change.
My nickname in two separate industries has been Bulldog, and those two nicknames came up independently of each other. I will absolutely fight for what is right, and I've come up with my own new nickname for this race. And once I get into Congress, I will be called the Compassionate Disruptor.
When you say compassion disruptor, what would that mean exactly? Because the thing is, there was one point where AOC herself held a protest in front of Nancy Pelosi's office, and now she calls her Mama Bear. How is that going to compare? Because there's always the potential of leadership saying, you got to fall in line and do what we say.
As long as I continue on the path that I'm on with gathering support from small donors across this country, I will never have to be owned by any corporation.
Okay, so one final note for this, and then we'll get to talking about some of the policy issues that you're running on. We have seen big money influence our two-party system. Same people who donate to the Republican Party are the same people who donate to the Democratic Party. These are facts. And are you willing to stand for your beliefs to be a one-term House representative, or would you compromise and be part of the Washington, D.C. establishment? Because that is something a lot of voters and our audience are so used to. People who say one thing, then as soon as they're in, it becomes a whole other show altogether.
I'm willing to stand up for what's right. If it means being a one-term candidate, then so be it. I want to get into this seat so that I can make a difference. And so I can start to expose what's really going on, The reason that I was motivated to run for governor of California was because I saw corruption at the local level and at the state level. And I just assumed this is absolutely going on at the federal level too. I can't fix it if I'm not there.
Okay. All right. Well, then all the best to your campaign on this one. I think our audience will be very critical of it, but we'll see how this campaign runs out. You have been a supporter of cannabis legalization Now, what do you plan on bringing to the House of Representatives, especially when it comes down to nationwide policies about cannabis legalization? It should be noted that Biden, through executive order, can actually legalize cannabis through his own executive order. Would you implement legislation to legalize cannabis, or would you also use some of your leverage to try and influence the Biden-Harris administration to use that executive order? And then number two, would you also be on support of pardoning individuals that have, again, been penalized by our prison industrial complex who are now serving time for nonviolent drug offenses? Would you be on board with pardoning them and actually implementing legislation to get them free?
Day one, I plan on introducing legislation to free 40,000 nonviolent cannabis criminals immediately. That should not be tied into any other bill, not safe banking, not the MORE Act, not any other cannabis legislation, because it ends up getting killed because of all these other interests. We have 40,000 nonviolent criminals that deserve to be with their families for something that is statewide legal in 37 states right now, you know, and that has to be a priority. So that's priority number one. Priority number two for me is 280E reform, which is a tax that taxes businesses as if they're cartels and criminals. That needs to be reduced so that these companies can have some breathing room. And, you know, issue number three is safe banking. You know, I have girlfriends in California that drive around with hundreds of thousands of dollars in their car, and they can't even carry a firearm to protect themselves in these COVID, you know, uncertain times. It's not fair.
Now, when it comes down to, again, another policy that's very popular amongst progressives, but we're being burnt by it, is Medicare for all. Where do you stand on Medicare for all, single-payer health care? Would you fight for it? And would you ever be on board for a forced vote by actually holding speaker leadership accountable to actually implement the Medicare for all bill on the House floor?
I actually look forward to that day because it's in the future. Medicare for all is absolutely something that I'm very passionate about. Healthcare should be, a constitutional right, just like voting. And it's unclear to me as to why this doesn't exist. It exists in Canada, and they didn't fall down. You know, we subsidize Israel, and Israel has universal healthcare, yet we don't. That makes no sense to me.
Okay, well, I'm very interested that you actually said that in regards to challenging leadership, because the thing is, when Jimmy Dore, Breonna Joy Gray, Justin Jackson, and so many other heroic individuals actually on January of 2021 hosted the Force a Vote for Medicare for All, where 100,000 plus people tuned in, there was a simple request for the 15 congressmen and women who ran on Medicare for All to withhold their vote for Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi so that she could put Medicare for All bill on the House floor for a vote. So for our audience, I think it's important that we understand where people are coming from. You would be on board, you would support a force to vote and challenge whoever said speaker would be unless they implement Medicare for all. Would you be on board for a force to vote?
100%. And if it means I'm a one-term candidate, so be it.
So be it then. Now, when it comes down to student debt forgiveness, again, a lot of people in my generation and previous other generations are struggling with student debt, a form of unforgivable debt. Joe Biden, through executive order, can actually pardon student debt. Where do you stand on this issue, and how do we actually get this implemented? Because it is crippling our economy, the fact that soon a large portion of the American populace will never be able to attain the American dream.
I'm not sure what I could do at the federal level. You know, I'll absolutely try. I think that student debt should be forgiven, especially when we're bailing out corporations over and over and over again. Like, why are we not bailing out our people? And I think that a lot of those loans were very predatory. I really like the ruling that just came out of Illinois. And so maybe this is something that has to be handled state by state and not so much at the federal level. Although if I find an avenue where I can, you know, push to get student debt relief, I will absolutely push for it.
Okay. So then as a final note for this interview, and again, thank you so much for being our first candidate to be on our show, especially for this midterm election cycle. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. It's a two-part question. Number one, where can our viewers and subscribers learn more about you, follow you online on social media? And then number two, look, my audience, we're burnt by electoral politics. We're tired of being lied to. What do you want to say to people who are just right now sitting this out, who actually are choosing not to get involved? Or what do you want to say to them to actually how you are going to be different?
I wouldn't have just thrown my entire career and life away to run for Congress if I didn't care about people. This isn't about power or money for me, or you would already see my coffers filled with, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, I've hustled this week to raise $30,000, you know, and I'm going to continue to hustle to make money like that so that I don't have to take corporate donations. I think it's critical that everyone stay very hyper alert right now. I think that it's really important that the Democrats continue to have majority in the House. And this seat that I'm running in, it could determine whether or not the Democrats or Republicans remain in power.
Okay. And where can they go online to find you for us if they want to help out your campaign?
My website is JackieMcGowan.com, JackieMcGowan.com. On social media, all over all the platforms, I am Jackie for Congress. And but you can also sign up on my website to receive emails. And, you know, we've got some really great fundraising emails that are going out right now that are really, I'm telling personal stories that I've never told, you know, and they're really resonating with the voters.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being part of our show. Jackie McGowan, she's running in the Democratic primary for the 17th Illinois Congressional District. Thank you so much for being on Hard Lens Media.
Thank you so much, Kit.
All right. And as we are wrapping things up, I noticed one of our YouTube super chats that we just got from a person named Daniel, not Daniel Lupker, of course. How does a candidate get in touch for an interview? Well, it works of two ways. Either they reach out to us, their campaign managers reach out to us, or we reach out to them. It's a matter of just if they get back to us. Now, we have reached out to a lot of candidates, and I understand. I read the chats too as well. Look, I know a lot of you are really burnt out by politics, electoral politics, but Hard Lens Media started off by interviewing candidates, activists, and organizers to be on our show. So we're going to be interviewing, be they Greens, Libertarians, Democrats. We've never had a Republican on our show, but it's only fair that we hear these different perspectives and these different points of view and why they're running for office. That's the whole point of being an independent media network. Yes, we're covering current events, but we also got to interview people who are running for office. And look, I'm right there with all of you. I'm burnt out by electoral politics, but it is something major that is happening, and we have to know what's going on, especially in our backyards, especially here in the state of Illinois. So, that was an interesting, that was a fun interview, too. What do you think, Faze? Pretty fun interview to do. All right, there you go. I mean, I'm going to be asking questions to Democratic candidates. Why are you running in the Democratic Party? That's just how it is. That's what it's going to be. And it's, so there we go. I'm going to ask you why you're running. I'm not going to vote Democrat, though. That's what I'm not going to do. I'm going to vote independent. I'm going to vote third party. I've made this very clear on the show. And yeah. That's pretty much it. So, Daniel, I hope that answered your question about how candidates can reach out to be on our show. Do we have anything on Rockfin or Odyssey? All right, we got nothing on Rockfin or Odyssey. All right, great. Well, fantastic. So, with that being said, I want to thank, Lucky Burrito Art and Music. You were trying to reach out to me. Yes, I will reach out and message you after the show so I can coordinate to be, I guess, on your show. So, thank you so much for the reminder. You will get a message from me right after we wrap things up. Later tonight at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, tonight, Chicago Corner will be live. We're going to be talking about environmental racism, also why Lori Lightfoot apparently says that she has the biggest dick in the city of Chicago. I know, it's a thing she said. Remember, folks, this is Democracy Manifest. So enjoy your succulent meals, and remember to take your judo lessons as always. Faze, why are you laughing? Faze, why are you laughing? It seems like you're laughing at a video that you showed me. Remember, it's the judo lessons. Do your judo. Yeah, that's right. You know what? I'm going to tell you all what to do. I still got some time to kill. Number 1, Hard Lens Media demands that you do your judo lessons. Number 2, enjoy your succulent meals. If someone's going to arrest you, you ask them, what are the charges? And remember, always say when you're entering a room or leaving, or you're talking to your friends, this is Democracy Manifest. one other thing. I forgot. Thank you to Lucky Burrito. Thank you so much for reminding me. To the wonderful, incredible, outstanding, legendary, compassionate warrior queen, Fiorella Isabel. We here at Hard Lens Media wish you a very happy birthday. All the best to you, and keep on doing the phenomenal work at the Convo Couch and at the Mikasu Casa Network. It is quite clear that you, Fiorella, today is your birthday, and we wish you all the best. Hope you're enjoying time with your friends and family and all of your loved ones as well. So we here at Hard Lens Media wish you a very, very happy birthday. And know this, the next time you're in, Chicago-style pizzas on the house for you. In fact, I wish we could deliver you Chicago-style pizza right now for your birthday. Because let's face it, we all know New York-style pizza sucks, right? It's a fact. It's a scientific fact. We got something with on Rockfin here real quick. Let's go ahead and acknowledge that. Roger Meadows tipped $2. All right, let's hear what he has to say. That was a no for me, so hard pass for me. Looking forward to when you get to the organizers who are pushing ballot initiatives in their state. Wow, sending for Cousins. She better watch who she marries. Also regarding censorship, Richard Briggs, who played Dr. Stephen Franklin on Babylon 5, said, "He who controls information controls the world." Agreed. So yeah. We're going to be having other candidates on our show, too, and other activists and organizers and commentators as well. So this midterm election cycle is going to be interesting to cover. We'll see how it all plays out. Thank you all so much for joining us here at Hard Lens Media. Shout out to our moderators keeping the peace. Shout out to FaZe for manning the board. Take your judo lessons. Enjoy your succulent meals. Remember, someone arrests you, ask them why. And always remember, this is democracy. This is Democracy Manifest. Peace, everyone.